Saludos programas and welcome to another Rampage cleanup. I am the nerdy Puerto Rican Adolfo and I am in my cleanup attire because we have stuff to clean up from this Rampage. And here with me, as always, is Mikey.
Yes, the cleanup crew is back for a second week in a row. We're on a hot streak, you guys. This is amazing. And we have lots of interesting things to talk about today.
Yep. Yep. Now, I must say that due to technical difficulties on TNT's side, I was not able to watch last week's Rampage, but we are still going to cover all the happenings, and we are going to jump right in and talk about the AEW Trios match between the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus the Hardys and Brother Zay. Mikey, go ahead.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So again, I have said on multiple reviews before, whether it be on Rampage or on Dynamite or anywhere else, I always worry when the Hardys, wrestle because they're getting up there in age and we're looking probably to see them retire within the next 2 to 3 years, maybe four. But honestly, this was a pretty fun trios match, and this was a nice way to open up Rampage. Obviously, for me personally, it was a foregone conclusion that the Acclaim and Daddy Ass were not going to be losing their trios championships. But
Right.
what I loved about this match in particular, the Hardys did the Hardy things as they normally do. But what I loved for me personally, this match actually saw Brother Zay get most of the offense for his team, and it was kind of showcasing what he could do. And of course, I got my every time Brother Zay's in the ring, I got my obligatory Isaiah Cassidy scream.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I loved
And
it so much.
I really appreciate when the older wrestlers like the Hardys, um, when they come out with the newer talent and they let the newer talent shine. I know that some people might think that they're just letting the kid, the little kids, pull all the weight, but they're really not. They're doing what I feel the older wrestlers, the older established wrestlers should do, and that is push the new talent. This isn't the first time that we've seen the Hardys do that with Brother Zay. This is something that Daddy Ass does with the Acclaimed, and I appreciate when they do that.
Oh, absolutely. And like you mentioned too, not just the Hardys, but Billy Gunn teaming up with the Acclaimed and letting the Acclaim kind of run most of the talking and be at the forefront of the trios that they have is I love it. And again, I feel like as much as I critique AEW for a lot of other things too, I feel like AEW for the most part, a lot of their legend wrestlers in the business who are working with the younger talent allow the younger talent to shine a lot,
Yeah.
like Billy Gunn and the Acclaim, the Hardys and Brother Zay, obviously Sting with Darby,
Yep. Yep.
Christian Cage with Luchasaurus to a certain
Christian
extent
Cage.
too.
Yep. Yep.
I love seeing it, and again, this was a fun way to open it. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass win, and then of course we get confirmation that these championships will also be defended on 0 Hour, which is the pre-show for Wrestle Dream tomorrow.
Wrestle Dream.
As the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass will be defending against New Japan faction, TMDK, the Mighty Don't Kneel, which is very fitting given the fact that their leader, Zack Sabre Jr., is at Wrestle Dream. I think this is going to be a fun pre-show match, given the fact that both trios are very comedy heavy too when it comes to a lot
Yeah.
of their character work. So I'm excited. This is going to
Yeah.
be fun, but
That's gonna be good.
this was a fantastic opener.
Good. Yep. Yep. Oh, it seems like it always is with the Acclaimed. Everybody loves the Acclaimed. So, and that moves us into our first spot of the night, which was Eddie Kingston ramping up his match that he was going to have later in the night on Rampage. However, Jay Lethal did come out and cause some shenanigans.
Indeed. So again, I am happy that Eddie Kingston finally took the title off of Claudio. So Eddie Kingston is dual champion. He is your current New Japan strong open weight champion. And then because of Grand Slam, he's also your current Ring of Honor world champion. So I love it. And again, I love whether you like him or hate him in real life, Jay Lethal coming up and kind of talking to Eddie about how, in a weird way, like respectfully disrespecting Eddie is the best way I can put this segment, because Jay Lethal runs through how prestigious the Ring of Honor world title is, and the fact that it's on somebody like Eddie Kingston speaks volumes to the history, but it's also on the wrong person, that Jay should be there. And I love that Eddie doesn't back down, because Jay Lethal rolls up with the rest of the Jeff Jarrett posse with him
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sanjay,
Always.
Satnam, and
Always.
Karen and all them. And Eddie Kingston's just like, okay, bud, I got a match, so I'll see you later. Like, because normally Eddie will just decimate verbally his opponents who interrupt, but he's like, okay, cool. I'll see y'all later. I got a match later. Bye.
Yeah. And no one got slammed in the head with a guitar. So
Not yet.
that was, yeah, not yet. And then we got our next spot of the night, which was Andrade El Idolo, uh, talking up his match versus Juice Robinson. So this is the second of the Bang Bang Club that he's going through. The first was Switchblade last week on Collision, right? Was it last week on Collision?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
last week on Collision. And,
Yep.
I have a conspiracy theory that we talked about on Dynamite. So Jay White got attacked last week, this past Wednesday on Dynamite, I should say, by four masked individuals. And, one of them was wearing MJF's devil mask. So, of
Yep.
course, we're planting the
Yep.
seeds like, oh, MJF probably had it. I was like, no, I think it's Andrade and the rest. If it's not Andrade himself, I think it's Los Faccion Ingornables. So, Roosh, Dralistico, Preston, and Jose, the assistant, I think
Yeah.
are behind the attack. Now, whether or not it was on Andrade's orders is a different story. But since Andrade is mixing it up with the Bang Bang Gang, Bullet Club Gold right now, it's not too far. I also loved, and I kind of laughed at it, that Andrade had his head like wrapped in a band-aid while he was giving this
Yeah.
promo. I was
Yeah.
like, listen, if you have not watched that Jay White and Andrade match from Collision last week, please do yourself a favor and go watch it, because that was probably the match of the week for me last week.
I'll
It was
tell you
so
what,
good.
together, Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson are a fantastic tag team to work with. I mean, those matches that they had with FTR, just speak to that point. And I have yet to see a match that they were in as a tag team where they did not make the other people look great. And the match was not, maybe it wasn't like match of all time, but like it was a really engaging match that was enjoyable to watch. And they're good wrestlers, not just together but by themselves. So I'm fully expecting to have another great match with Andrade and Juice tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that match on Collision so much. Again, it's so weird because Collision feels like it. I mean, technically, it is being written by a different people, but Collision just feels so refreshing and feels so different. And don't get me wrong, I love Rampage for what it is, but Collision right now is probably the most consistent thing that I get from AEW every week. Maybe this because I'm
Yeah.
biased because it's new, but it just feels different. And it is because Danielson's kind of in charge of booking and writing. So
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of the wrestlers are not to veer off too far off of and we'll bring this back to Rampage, but I know that with Collision, a lot of the wrestlers are actually involved with a lot of the stories and whatnot. And one, again, really quick, one thing that I was worried about was with all of the scuttlebutt that had happened with CM Punk, that was going to cause uh a dip or a misstep with Collision, and it doesn't seem like it has. It seems like Collision's just is still strong. But we're bringing it back to Rampage because Eddie Kingston did defend his New Japan strong open weight championship against Rocky Romero.
So easily for me, my match of the night, only because I knew Eddie was going to bring it. Rocky Romero has, despite, maybe being new to some people, Rocky Romero has been a big staple. And honestly, to me, he's been a big supportive bridge to bridge the New Japan talent to the AEW talent as well. I also listen, I'm never gonna complain. I'm like mis Latinos on my Latinos on my television screen. I also really popped hard because I forgot that now Rocky Romero has the moniker Azucar in his wrestling name now. It's just like I don't know where it came from, but I'm not gonna complain. And
Right, that's
this
good. That's a
match,
cut.
yeah,
That's a deep cut.
this
Asuka!
I loved it so much. This match ruled. I already knew I was gonna get Eddie doing Eddie things, Rocky Romero being the technical high flyer that he is, but I Eddie surprised me because I was like, "Oh, Eddie, is that a submission move? Is that like?" I was like, "Oh, Eddie, we're doing submission moves now." I'm like, "Okay, I have yet to see you do this all that often," and I love that instead of going for the knockout like Eddie does, he makes Rocky tap in the submissions hold, which is very rare to see for Eddie on AEW television. This
Right,
was
yeah,
a
yeah.
fun match, and like, I love the respect that both him and Rocky showed each other after the match.
Yeah. That was yeah, and then, we got, a little bit of Eddie and, Shibata. Shibata, came out for the Wrestle Dream match, I guess it was?
Okay, I need a moment because I have unapologetically said across all of the reviews that Katsuyori Shibata is one of my favorite New Japan or just Japanese technical wrestlers of all time right now. So I was having a fanboy moment. And again, I love this dynamic of face versus face in the upcoming Wrestle Dream match between these two. Um, uh, listen, regard regardless of what the rest of the card for Wrestle Dream looks like, because we have what it looks like. For me personally, this is the one I'm really looking forward to the most from a fanboy perspective, because both Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata are the guys to me, and this is going to be the closest to like a New Japan style match on American television, and that has me hyped because that's what Wrestle Dream was touted as.
Right.
And really, that's really the only kind of close to a Wrestle Dream in honor of the previous owner of New Japan, Inoki, for a Wrestle Dream because everything else was let's throw a bunch of AEW people on this match. I'm like, though I will say Swerve versus Hangman though. We'll talk after. We'll talk
We'll
after the
we'll we'll
camera
talk,
because
we'll talk,
we'll
we'll
talk
talk.
afterwards. But
Yeah,
this
we'll talk.
match rolled. I'm excited for Shibata and Eddie. My match of the night for sure.
Right. All right. So then we got a hype segment for Aussie Open against FTR for their Wrestle Dream match. Right. Wrestle Dream again.
Yep.
Yep.
It is for their
Uh,
wrestle. Yep, their Wrestle
yep.
Dream match is for the AEW Tag Team Championship, so the titles are
Yep.
on the line. Please let Aussie Open win. Please let
Yeah.
Aussie Open win. I love FTR, but I feel like since being signed to AEW, Tony Khan really hasn't really done much with them. I felt really bad that they lost the titles to Adam Cole and MJF, the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships after not really holding them for that long. But man, this promo made me excited because this is the Aussie Open that I know and love from New Japan. They're very fiery, they're very passionate, and they have the skills to back up all the trash talk that they do.
Yeah.
So on paper, this match better be given 15, 20 minutes, and on paper, this should be a barn burner of a match. But this got me excited. I'm like, please, I love Aussie Open. Please let them win on Sunday. Please let them win.
Yeah. I'm hoping that there's not going to be a lot of outside of the ring shenanigans. I really hope that they really showcase Aussie Open and their abilities against FTR as opposed to doing the heel thing, and like keeping a lot of the doing a lot of nonsense outside of the ring so that like the actual in-ring wrestling is there's not a lot of it, you know what I mean? So yeah, but yeah, we will see. We will see. And then after this, we had a squash match where it was the Righteous versus local jobbers. And how long did it last, Mikey?
I'm gonna be gracious and say this lasted probably about 2 minutes, but so yeah, 2 minutes I think is fair assessment because it just didn't last long.
Right. But what we so we aren't going to spend a lot of time talking about that. But we are going to talk about is the Righteous versus MJF in a handicap match to defend the ROH Tag Team Championship. Yeah.
So this whole how we got here has been so convoluted. There's so many moving parts to this. Like I feel like I have to recap like in a short amount of time how we got here. So obviously, supposedly about 2 weeks ago, we got word that the Righteous would be because the Righteous won the fatal four way at
Right.
Grand Slam last
Hmm.
week. And so they earned the right to face Better Than You Bebe for the tag titles. Uh, Dynamite Grand Slam, however, Adam Cole jumped off the ramp and his ankle exploded into three different pieces. I was just like, damn. I was like, we can't
Yeah,
just
that was a
Adam Cole
rough.
can't catch a break. First the concussion, now this ankle thing. But see, now the problem is with the internet wrestling community. Now they're making me think like, what if this is a work because maybe Adam Cole's playing like this long mind game and his ankle's not really broken. And so I'm just like, but but I was like, "Don't play with me like this."
Yeah, yeah, it's
Again, there's
yeah,
so many moving parts because, this became a handicap match because MJF's on Dynamite this week said he would defend the titles by himself and he's going to retain them. And then that kind of got lost in the shovel because Roderick Strong and the Kingdom came out and they had their back and forth. And then no commercial break led into MJF going one on one with Jay White on the mic. This was a lot, and I feel like the Righteous have been a foregone conclusion, which kind of plays into MJF is not losing these titles, and it makes me sad because I want the tag titles back on ROH to be defended. I know eventually the Kingdom is probably going to be the one to take the titles off them, but we'll see what it has. But
yeah.
the
We'll
poor
we'll we'll
Righteous,
see.
I feel like have been an afterthought in this whole entire situation.
And I'll admit they have a good shtick. They're um that really quick promo that they had during last week's Rampage, I think it was, um, has been a promo that I actually enjoyed, and I haven't really enjoyed a lot of the AEW promos in a while. But when they did their promo, this was the one where they were walking through the field type thing,
They
and
were
it was like,
literally like the
yeah,
real life versions of the Far Cry 5 boss.
yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed their shtick. So I do hope if they don't win the tag titles, which they probably won't. I hope this does set them up for other things. You know what I mean? So we will see. And yeah, like I did have that question. Is Adam's Cole ankle really effed up, or is this one of those long con things? I'm currently I'm leaning towards the fact that towards that yeah it's probably he probably did really hurt himself because that's what they put up on social media and stuff like that, but like with Better Than You Baby, like I I would not put it past them for Adam Cole to now start pulling things from MJF's playbook where like he will be at ringside with his injury, and then all of a sudden he'll like use the cast and like super kick someone with it and like knock him out, you know what I mean? So we'll see about that. So the next thing that we had was a video package Santana versus about Santana and Ortiz, and where they started out, and it looks like where they're ending up. Mikey, where do you think this is heading?
So, okay, so selfishly, I hope that whenever we decide to get this match, I hope it's at Full Gear. And the only reason I say that because I I don't think I made this official yet, but I can if not, breaking news, the cleanup crew gets this exclusive first. Your boy will be there live for Full Gear in LA in November. So
Woo!
Me and a friend of
Woo!
mine are going to Full Gear, and I'm more than
Nice.
excited.
Nice.
See, I'm excited, but like this one, it literally this is real. This is like real beef that these two have with each other because it's been reported that for the last year and a half they've had a falling out. They don't like each other. Even when they were in the Stadium Stampede match at All In, they weren't really around each other and they stayed separate. And so far, AEW has done a good job of not really revealing too much of the real life personal issues they have with each other into the feud, which I appreciate. And I appreciate the tact, and I think that's what I'm hoping for the rest of this because that's what still worries me is that the tact of this worries me a little bit, and I hope that Creative and AEW and Santana and Ortiz can find a way to coexist, so to speak, with each
Yeah.
other.
Yep.
But I'm excited. It sucks that they're not teaming together right now, and I don't know if we will ever get Proud and Powerful ever back together. But again, this is another program where I'm all in for, and again, you get me my Puerto Ricans on my screen. Like I'm never gonna complain about that.
Yep.
And Santana and Ortiz are so talented. Like I'm excited for whenever this match when it occurs, though selfishly I want it at Full Gear, but I'm looking forward to it. I just hope
Yeah.
that they keep these in small doses and not. And again, I said this on Dynamite, but MJF and Adam Cole was starting to wear on me for how every week we got something from them. I'm like, okay, let's add some depth to this. But you know, as unfortunate as it was, I think the injury adds a different angle to everything, which it's just a
Right.
nice change of pace. But Santana and Ortiz, I'm here for it. I can't wait for when
Right.
this match happens.
Yeah. And I mean, truth be told, the last thing AEW needs is another PR mess where you have a brawl backstage between talent, that you have to try to explain away, you know? So yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. Uh, so this led into a recap from Wednesday Night Dynamite of Christian and Darby Allen. But let's put Christian and Darby Allen. Let's put them over here for 1 second, because the real question I have is how is Christian gonna react when Edge comes into AEW? Because everything seems to be leading that Edge, it's official, even though it hasn't been officially announced, that Edge is coming to AEW. And what is going to happen with Christian when that does? Because for those that don't know, Edge and Christian, they got some history. I mean, they came up through WW. I'm gonna say it. They came up through WWF together. They were tag team champs in the WWF during the Attitude Era and the Raw era together. So, what's gonna happen?
Okay. So I this is the tale of two Mikeys in this scenario for me. Fanboy Mikey is like, yes, absolutely. This is all pointing towards signs that on Sunday, tomorrow at Wrestle Dream, Mr. Adam Edge Copeland, if you will be making his debut. And what makes me believe that a little bit more is we got breaking news report via from Countdown to Wrestle Dream, the special that always airs to recap all the stories leading into AEW's pay-per-views. Darby mentions that this will be his first time main eventing a pay-per-view. So we got confirmation that this 2 out of 3 falls for the TNT Championship match is going to be the main event for Wrestle Dream, and I am excited. I don't know how you don't have Brian Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. main event because, like, on paper, that's your big marquee match. But because Christian Cage and Darby Allin's 2 out of 3 falls TNT Championship match is going to be the main event, fanboy Mikey's like, oh, Edge is definitely appearing. Now, on the other side, booking wise, Mikey was just like, I'm excited, but I feel like, again, you want to have a big talking point the next day. My biggest concern though is that if it just depends on whether Edge comes in to either be Christian's ally, Darby's ally, or be a neutral third party. And I need AEW, and I'm worried that about it just a tiny bit. I need them to figure out a way where not only is it to get Edge to basically debut, but I'm needing it to have some sort of story implications and add to whether it be this feud, if it starts a new one. Like I don't know. I think obviously the easy answer would be to have. I think what's okay. So here's what I think. I think in my head, I think what should happen is Edge comes out and is Christian's friend, which then, if we get some sort of story beat, because we'll talk about it later, but I feel like Luchasaurus is starting to open his eyes a little bit, be like, yeah, Christian's
Oh
kind of a
yeah.
dirtbag.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that during the triple threat for the championship on Collision last week, Luchasaurus is like, hold up, Christian is not the greatest person right now. Hold on.
Yep.
So I'm thinking it might lead to Christian and Edge versus Darby and Luchasaurus. So I was just like, I'm kind of here for it. But again, it just depends on how they want to play it. But I mean, that's my thoughts. Adolfo, what are your thoughts when it comes to this?
Well, all right. So first and foremost, I have to say that I am disappointed that during the triple threat match last week, where Sting was not allowed at ringside, they made this big thing that Sting was not allowed at ringside, right? That they didn't pull old school Sting where he was peering in the rafters type thing, because like technically he wouldn't be at ringside. He would be up in the rafters, and like back in WCW days, that was his whole shtick. Was like he would be up in the rafters, and then like they would look up and be like, "Oh my God, it's Sting! He's up in the rafters!" And then like he would swoop down, and bring his Sting justice onto everyone, and it was exciting. But they didn't do that. Okay, fine. Okay, now you got Christian versus Darby Allin, right? Luchasaurus has pretty much been um, pulled out of this situation during this match because he's going to be going against Nick Wayne, which we'll talk about that later, right? I th- I I feel that they have ran this whole Christian Darby Allin story as far as they can. And I feel from a story standpoint, it would be really cool if, Christian and Darby, as they wrestle, Christian gets 2 pinfalls and then Darby gets 2 pinfalls. So now we're at that like last pinfall. And then who emerges from the shadows a la his old school WWF days? Like a shadow beast? Edge, the Triple R superstar, emerges from the darkness. Oh my God, look, it's Edge. Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine if they did that? That'd be fantastic. And then like Christian could turn and be like, "Oh, it's Edge," and like Edge knocks out Christian and then disappears in the darkness again because he's one with the shadows. Oh my God, he's Edge. And then Darby gets the 1, 2, 3, and then we can continue Darby Allin versus Luchasaurus because I'm more interested in that. Um, and now we have Edge in AEW, and he's got beef with Christian. Bing bang boom. There we go. Will that probably happen? Probably not. You know, do I think that his introduction is going to be at Wrestle Dream? I mean, from a business standpoint, I think that's the best call is to have him come in at Wrestle Dream. I mean, for frick's sake, it's called Wrestle Dream. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's my thoughts. There we do. And what people have to keep in mind is that there is a lot of real life backstage stuff that can either make these things happen or not make these things happen. Number one being, what type of clauses did Edge and Vincenzo Macaroni over at WWE have in his contract? Did did he have that the standard like 90-day can't wrestle clause like it seems like all everyone else has, or did he have something different? Because I we haven't seen him over in WWE land for a bit now, have we? I can't. I feel like the last time we saw him was after WrestleMania. It was WrestleMania, and that was it.
Yeah, the last time we saw Edge in WWE, his final match was against Sheamus, and I want to say towards the end of August, maybe. Yeah,
Okay.
the end of August, and so he lost. No, he won. I think it's listen. Wrestling is a blur.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but that was the last of it, and then his contract officially expired. He didn't re-sign with WWE, and to my knowledge, he doesn't have a Legends deal with WWE either. So Edge's contract, he doesn't have that 90-day non-compete clause in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, I will say I love everybody jumping ship to other promotions and like hopping on to get new experiences because I feel like, in my personal opinion, and this is like the minority, which is like crazy here, but I feel like it brings healthy competition and it brings like allowing wrestlers to wrestle like different people they have yet to do so. Like
Yeah.
I I mean it's not officially confirmed, but like I'm 90% sure Edge is in AEW now. And so
Right.
it makes me excited for the possibilities of who Edge can face, whether it be a singles or if he wants to tag with Christian or something. Like honestly, based on everything, like Edge versus Ricky Starks would be something I would love to see just because
Right. Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
them are very charismatic on the mic and they can run a great promo. Edge versus Claudio,
Or
Edge
what
versus Orange would be funny.
Or what if we have Edge coming in and teaming up with Nick Wayne and helping to elevate Nick Wayne?
Oh my
Because
gosh.
when Nick Wayne came in, they did that whole thing how, you know, Nick Wayne was the future. So I I feel that that would be a good thing for Edge.
Oh my gosh.
Going back to what we were talking about, where the older wrestlers come in, and yes, you can still showcase them, but they elevate the newer wrestlers. And I, you know,
I just had a brain blast moment. I don't know if it will ever happen, but I have a dream match here. You have a triple threat, but it's a six man. It's six people involved, but you have three individual teams. Like do a tornado tag or something, where you basically have the future stars teaming up with their wrestling father figures and have this
right?
match because you'll have Christian and Luchasaurus, Darby and Sting, Edge and Nick Wayne.
That'd
God,
be
I
cool.
want it now. I want it
That'd
so
be cool.
bad.
All right. So this does seg into the next spot, which was Nick Wayne talking about his match versus Luchasaurus at Collision Wrestle
It's gonna be on Zero
Dream.
Hour for Wrestle Dream.
Zero Hour. Okay.
Listen, I give a little bit of grace because I know for this is Nick has been wrestling all over the world on the independent promotions, but this is the first time he's really on a televised weekly program now that he signed with AEW. And you know what? I know he's just 18, so I he can only go up from here. But I was like, this was a the first half of this promo was a little bit shaky. I could tell he was nervous, which is going to be expected, especially if you have never done these promos in front of cameras. But then once he got into, that he still owes a debt to Luchasaurus, and then come Sunday, he's going to show the receipts with the skateboard. I was like, all right, Nick, I'm behind you on this one now. The first half was a little touch and go for a little bit because you were nervous. But I think towards the second half, once he talked about what Luchasaurus did at All In, and then focusing on that and honed in specifically as to what we're building into with the purpose of this promo, I think Nid did a better job. And I'm excited to see Luchasaurus versus Nick Wayne. I'm hoping that we get a storytelling element where Nick Wayne's like, bro, Christian is kind of a turd. Like, what is
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, and we could get that further split between Luchasaurus and Christian. That'd be cool. And then after that, we had the Zack Saber Jr. spot, where he was calling out Mr. Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon. Yo, I'm sorry. Like, yo, listen, I know Bryan Danielson wrestled in New Japan, and I know that he's wrestled in a bunch of different things. But I just like, again, what sticks in my mind is his WWF persona of yes, yes, yes. So like seeing this different, like, I am the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Technicality, I'm just like, I'm like, bruh, you know. But go ahead, Mikey. Talk about the spot.
Listen, y'all need to show Adolphus some support because he is such a fantastic co-host to be with. And so if you don't already, make sure you give him some love. He's so great. I love it. But in terms of Zack Sabre Jr., listen, I am unapologetically a Zack Sabre Jr. fanboy, obsessed, if you will. Like, I think outside of Danielson, there's no other wrestler in terms of technicality than that comes close between those two. And I went wild when I made my predictions because the majority of people say that Danielson's going to win and that's probably going to happen. But wouldn't it be a shock? Because this is unofficially for the title of best technical wrestler in the world. Zack Sabre Jr., again, such perfect heel,
Yeah,
promo here. And not even having to be like the rough archetype of the heel. And again, accents make any promo better.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
Zaxxas was like, Danielson, Dolly, like, what are we
yeah.
doing? I was just like, yes, you all had me immediately. It was short, to the point, but Zack Sabre Jr. just says that, Danielson, you better be careful because I'm going to bring everything that I have. And just because you think you're the best technical wrestler in the world, we're going to prove on Sunday which one of us is that. And I picked Zach to win because I think Zach would gain so much momentum if Danielson put him over. But either
It would be
way,
nice. It would be
Zach
nice.
Danielson is going to be a fantastic match. I'm
Yeah,
so
and
excited.
you know, I got two things, and I just want to preface this and say I like Bryan Danielson. I really do like Bryan Danielson a lot as a wrestler, and I know that he's really over right now. But okay, number one, last week on Collision, he had a grueling Texas death match that he won against Ricky Starks. You know, and it seems like all these specialty matches that he's gone into, he's won. You know, like the what was the match that he broke his arm in?
Yeah, it
Um,
was. So he broke his arm at Forbidden Door, and it was in a wrestling
right
match
at Forbidden
against
Door.
Okada.
Right, right, and he won that match. Right, so like it would be nice if we didn't have Bryan Danielson win a pay per view match. You know, and number two, I thought because of his broken arm, he was supposed to be out for a lot longer than it seemed like he was. Because it seemed like he was out maybe a month and then like was right back into it, you know? And like good audience, if you have never had a severe injury like an arm break or a wrecked knee or anything like that, do not fool yourselves. These are serious injuries that you do need like months and months and months of rehab to really be able to come back from. And I feel that Bryan Danielson coming back from that arm break, which I think also on top of that, he had another injury that he had sustained um, during that whole Blackpool Combat Club fracas with the Hung Bucks and all that. I think it was like a concussion or something like that. But like, you know, it's okay, Bry. chill out. Right, right collision. Go right for collision for a bit. You're good, bro. You're good. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would like to see Zack Saber Jr. Come out on top at Wrestle Dream. Will he? With as much as Brian Danielson is over, probably not. But we'll see. We'll see. And then finally we had the main event, which was the a women's match, Ruby Soho versus Hikaru Shida, and the winner of this match is has a title shot against Saraya for the women's championship. Mikey?
So I will say I do appreciate that we closed Rampage with a women's match. Unfortunately, it was the only women's match we got on Rampage. But you know what? I with Rampage, it's like of the three, I give it a little grace. I was like, you have an hour. At least we got a women's match. Um, so I'll speak on the match first, and then I'll give secondary commentary to just everything later. I thought this match was a lot of fun. Um, I'll be honest, I'm happy to see that Ruby gets to finally get television time and gets to wrestle again, because it's been quite a bit since we've seen her wrestle. Hikaru Shida is always one of my greatest, coming in with like the 90-esque X-Men cartoon theme song for her entrance kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah,
I was like,
so
I could
good.
totally see
It's
this
so
playing
good.
over, like, I'm just like, I'm
So
waiting for
good.
the
Right.
I love it so much. But yeah, I was happy to see Hikaru win. And poor Ruby, man. That's all I can really say for most of this is Ruby never gets a win when it matters.
Yeah. So this leads me to my question, Mikey, and that is, do we think that AEW broke up the Outcast a little too early? Because it seems like when the Outcast was together, that Soraya, Ruby Soho, and Tony Storm had this great chemistry that in the beginning it was a little weird, but I felt like towards the end it had gotten a lot better. And then when it seemed like they finally figured out what they were doing with the Outcast, they broke up. So do we think that they broke up a little too early?
Okay. So I don't think necessarily believe that they broke them up too early. I think the bigger problem that I've had with this is that obviously eventually we were gonna get these three to split off and they would be going up against each other. I think there still is a slight possibility, but I feel that leading into the inevitable breakup, it was kind of like the pace of it was kind of rushed in the sense that Tony Storm, listen, I love Tony Storm's current like delusional like Hollywood starlet character she got going on right now. It
That
is
was yeah, that is
it
entertaining.
is as watch for the shoe is a thing that I love now. Is just like duh.
Oh
Listen, if anyone has been hit with some high heel shoes, you know those hurt. Okay.
yeah,
And
yep.
I love this character. But the problem is that I don't want to say we got the blow off match, but like Soraya and Tony Storm at Grand Slam had that match. And now I don't know what else we do with them. I feel that if we were going to break them up, the three of them should have been separate. But the problem is that Ruby still they still played the Outcast theme when Ruby
You're
came
right.
out.
You're
And
right.
so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the Outcasts, I guess, are still a thing because it's still with Soraya and Ruby, and Tony's off doing her own thing. My biggest issue is I don't think they broke them up too soon. I think the bigger issue is that the seeds of dissension was like really quick in the sense that
Yeah, okay.
there was no lead up into people starting to split off because normally you want them to be a united front, then you want them to be some tension. Then the climax is there's the one particular moment where they all fight each other, and then we get a triple threat blow off match. It doesn't need to be for the title or not, but have that triple threat, all three of them go their separate ways. But Tony's out here literally in La La Land right now. after losing to Soraya, and I don't know what's going to happen with her. And Ruby's still considered an outcast because it's her and Soraya. So it's been a messy handling of this faction, which sucks.
Yeah. Well, and it does speak to uh the bigger issue, which I know we have been pounding this drum quite often, and I have seen other wrestling outlets pounding this drum, and that's that AEW, aka Tony Khan, does not know how to book his women's division, which is a damn shame, because they have a lot of great talent. Not only do they have a lot of great talent, but they also have different type of talent that you would see over on the other big brand, on WWE. You know, like you don't have, everyone has their own shtick. Everyone has their own thing. You don't have like you don't have, carbon copies. You know, like saying, oh, that this individual is AEW's answer to Becky Lynch or something like that. Everyone has their own thing, which is great, and they're great wrestlers, but they just don't know how to book them, and they don't know how to book them, and they don't know how to book them. They don't know how to book them, and they're not giving them the time that they need, so they can book them. And you see, there's the drum. The drum is beating, Tony. You hear that drum, Tony? Fix your women's division.
We mean it. We mean it.
See? There we go. There we go. So, yeah. So this brings us to the end of our Rampage cleanup. Mikey, overall, what did you think about this edition of Rampage?
Honestly, I think this Rampage was a lot of fun. And again, I appreciate the fact that Rampage was used to build a lot of what we are getting at Wrestle Dream between certain individuals, whether it be setting up pre-show matches at 0 hour or, building for potential future and all that. Um I'm going to give this like out of 10. I'm going to give this like a solid 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed this Rampage.
Okay, cool. And because I didn't watch Rampage, I'm just going to end this by saying, Tony, the drums are playing for you. You got a great women's division. Fix it, Tony Khan. Biconics out. Hablamos luego.